All right, so we have a little more details on this illegal migrant who stole DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's Gucci purse. And this is pretty wild right here. A legal migrant accused of snatching Kristi Noem's Gucci purse was free after similar crime in New York City last month. Just last month, this guy was set free right after doing something very similar. The illegal migrant who was busted for snatching Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's Gucci purse was picked up by cops in New York City for a similar crime just weeks earlier, but they let him go with a desk appearance ticket and a court date. Yes, so this guy's illegal and he broke the law. I mean, if you're illegal, you already broke the law, but then he breaks the law again, and then, the New York justice system, they look at illegals and their crimes as not really that big of a deal. So they're like, hey, you did something bad, but, listen, here, we're going to let you go and we need you to come back. And obviously, I guess he never came back. But the NYPD's warrant squad was hunting for Chilean national Mario Bustamante Leiva, who was 49 because he never showed up to court when he allegedly ripped off Noem during Easter dinner with her family. After swiping Noem's purse, which contained $3,000 in cash, her passport, wallet, government ID, he hopped a bus and sidled up to the bar at Angolo Ristorante Italiano in D.C., where he boozed it up until midnight and rang up a $205.87 tab on the DHS Honchos Americans Express, according to documents released by prosecutors Monday. The feds also released surveillance images of Bustamante Leiva wearing a white face mask and a baseball cap. Okay, so that explains why he was identified as a white male, I guess, because when this was first released in the press, they described Kristi Noem's thief as a white male, and it actually ended up being a non-white illegal immigrant who did the crime, which I know is a surprise and shock to everybody. But he was wearing this white face mask, baseball cap before and after he allegedly stole Noem's $4,000 luxury bag from under her feet at the Capitol Burger. Another picture allegedly showed the accused serial thief at Angolo Noem's Gucci bag clearly in view while chatting on a cell phone. And that is not all, because there wasn't just one thief that was implicated in this crime. There were two. There was that guy who apparently he's been doing this for quite a while. I mean, back in, I believe it was 2018, he was caught in London doing these petty crimes, very similar stuff, stealing laptops, wallets, purses, electronics, stuff like that. And then there's this other guy who is an illegal immigrant who is connected with this as well. And he was released into the United States despite notice of expedited removal. So, if there's ever a reason for us to really start deporting these illegal immigrants, it's because they do stuff like this and it makes your quality of life worse. And, this is just a thorn in the side of Americans that we should not have to put up with. I'm sure if they would have known who they went after, being the Department of Homeland Security chief, Kristi Noem, they probably would not have done it, because they probably had no idea. I mean, if they would have known who she was, they probably would have been like, okay, we'll pass this one up because we're about to have hell rain down on our heads. And that's what happened, because they now have, of course, federal charges. But this second illegal immigrant that was nabbed in Homeland Security Kristi Noem's Gucci bag theft has been identified as a Chilean national who was released into the United States despite being handed notice of, quote, expedited removal. The second guy, Christian Rodrigo Montesino Sanzana, I'm not good at pronouncing names, okay? Forgive me, was busted in Miami on Sunday after he and another illegal migrant allegedly made off with Noem's designer purse containing $3,000, blah, 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 blah. Here's a picture of the guy right here. This is Christian Rodrigo. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to leave it at that. Christian Rodrigo right here. He was released into the United States in January of 2021. Yes, this was during the Biden administration. This is when they wanted to have as many illegals in the country as possible. And this guy, who ultimately went on to help with this theft, he had an expedited release or expedited deportation notice, and they released him despite of all of that. But despite U.S. Border Patrol issuing him a notice of expedited removal when he was apprehended trying to sneak across the southern border in December, his arrest came shortly after Mario Bustamante's, who was taken into custody in Washington, D.C. over the theft. Charges against him are pending. So we have two individuals arrested for this crime, Bustamante and Christian. And Christian, he was set free after doing a similar crime in New York City, despite being illegal, despite committing these crimes, despite being a nuisance. And then he basically skipped town and went on to steal Kristi Noem's purse. So there is an update on the whole situation. We now have kind of a better idea of who these people are. And surprise, they are illegal immigrants in the United States of America. But what do you guys think of this? What do you think of two illegal immigrants being involved in the theft of Kristi Noem's purse? I assume it has something to do with some sort of ring. Maybe these two are they're either a part of some sort of theft ring, robbery gang or something like that, or maybe they're buddies that met in prison, maybe in London, because London has a huge immigrant problem, illegal immigrant problem. And this is happening all over the world. People from third world countries or countries that may not be as well off as the Western nations are now gravitating towards the Western countries. And they don't really have as much, how can I say it? They don't really care as much about the law as maybe your average American or your average European. So maybe these two met in prison and they decided to help each other out, form some sort of crime ring where they do petty thefts. That is definitely a possibility because it is very interesting. But let me know what you think of all this down below in the comments. Our favorite DHS Secretary, Kristi Noem, having her $4,000 Gucci purse stolen by two illegal migrants. The migrants were initially reported on as white males, and now we know that they weren't. But it's good to see that they caught them very quickly. Let me know what you think of all this down below in the comments. Like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until then, I will see you on the next one.